Well, good afternoon. It is Pentecost Sunday. Today is Sunday, May 23rd, and it is the Pentecost Sunday. And as you can kind of see in the background, I'm still dressed up in red from our service this morning, and you can see some of the kind of cool things that we did to the sanctuary to celebrate Pentecost Sunday. It's the day that we celebrate the Holy Spirit coming to the church. Coming upon the disciples, and the church was born. So we often call it the birthday of the church. We had cookies, and it was good time. So, and I preached from Acts chapter 2. But today, we are currently in year B. We are looking at the gospel readings from the lectionary. So that means we're not in the book of Acts to look at a passage for Pentecost Sunday, but we are at a very kind of cool spot. We find ourselves in the Gospel of John, John chapter 15. And Jesus is speaking to his disciples. This is, by anyone's guess, the last 2 or 3 days right before Jesus is crucified. And Jesus says this, "But I will send you the advocate." An advocate is someone who speaks on behalf of you, somebody who comes alongside of you, a counselor, much like a counselor would in a courtroom. A lawyer would come alongside you and speak on your behalf. So this advocate is coming alongside of the disciples. It says, "He will come to you from the Father and testify all about me. And you must also testify about me because you have been with me from the beginning of my ministry." And so Jesus says that an advocate is coming. And we're going to get to that a little bit more in just a moment. But this advocate, this one who comes alongside, will lead them into all truth. Not too far away in John chapter 14, we have John recording that Jesus says he is the way, the truth, the life. The Holy Spirit will lead us into all truth. The Holy Spirit will lead us to Jesus and to his ways. But now let's skip ahead a little bit. John 16, 4b through 15. "I didn't tell you earlier because I was going to be with you for a little while longer." Jesus has now predicted his death, and he is telling the disciples that what's about to happen needs to happen. "But now I am going away to the one who sent me, and not one of you is asking where I'm going." Interesting. They're upset that Jesus is going, but they don't ask where he's going. "Instead, you grieve because of what I told you, but in fact, it is best for you that I go away, because if I don't, the advocate won't come. If I do go away, then I will send him to you, and when he comes, he will convict the world of its sin and of God's righteousness and of the coming judgment. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. Righteousness is available because I go to the Father, and you will see me no more. Judgment will come because the ruler of this world has already been judged. There is much more that I want to tell you, but I can't bear it now. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own, but will tell you what he's heard. He will tell you about the future. He will bring me glory by telling you whatever he receives from me. All that belongs to the Father is mine, and that's why I said, the Spirit will tell you whatever he receives from me." Very similar to what Jesus speaks to the disciples on the Mount of Olives shortly before he ascends to heaven, just 10 days prior to this event. Jesus says, "I'm going. I'm leaving. But I will never leave you." What a great paradox. I am going, but I will never leave you. Because the advocate is coming. The advocate steps into the place. The Holy Spirit steps into the place. And as we look at Luke's account of in Acts chapter 2, we see the disciples getting ready they're praying, they're selecting a new apostle, and they're praying, and the Holy Spirit comes. And Jesus said earlier in Acts chapter 1, he says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you to be witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." In Matthew, I think probably a passage that was spoken not too long before Jesus ascended to heaven, Matthew records Jesus saying to his disciples, he goes, "I've been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore go and make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And teach these new disciples. Teach these new disciples everything I've taught you. And do not fear, because I will be with you even to the end of the age." Now, the disciples are in the upper room. They receive the Holy Spirit. And Peter, I guess I really get Peter here. Peter goes from this ragtag, impetuous, he gets up and speaks boldly the truth. He says, Jesus was crucified, but he was risen. And the same power that raised him from the dead is now speaking through us to do many miracles. So I guess that's really what I think about when I think of the day of Pentecost, is that Jesus promised he would be with us through the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit comes and he gives us the power to do amazing things that we can't do on our own. And he calls us to do those things to the glory of God. Not, as I mentioned this morning and as our general superintendent said earlier this week, not our power to do our things, not God's power to do our things, not our power to do God's things, but God's power to do God's things. And that's what he calls us to do. To be his witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the other parts of the world. To be his disciples and to go and make disciples. And baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And to teach them everything that Jesus taught us. Because he has sent the advocate. He has sent us the power that we need in order that advocate can speak on our behalf. We don't even have to worry about it. He will speak on our behalf to tell people the good news about Jesus, who was crucified and risen and is coming again. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.